but we've moved him back down to police. But we have put in the full amount for a full-time city manager.
There's $150,000 of wages in there for the city manager. There's my wage in there. There's the economic development wage in there for $62,720. It's in this sheet here. And the administrative assistant in here for a grand total with the ERPs and everything, $478,005. There's no added positions from last year. Mayor and council at the dais made a decision that we would hire a city manager at the salary rate of $150, is what we heard. So projecting next year, we projected 12 months of a city manager at $150 for the 12 months. It's just what we projected.
Okay.
John, on the economic development, I noticed there's one in the city managers, and then there's another one on the planning and zoning, economic development.
I'll have to look at that planning and zoning.
It's on the.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not double booked. So, and the P and Z one that they're requesting.
That's
to
a
add to,
request.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Mr. Cross has requested someone to help him with economic development with buildings and development of the city. So he had put in that request.
For Nick?
Yeah, actually for someone to help him with
Economic development management and analyst.
And certainly, he'll have justification for that as we get into his
He's asking for a tank, isn't he?
policy. Yes.
So that's, when we get to parks and,
Planning and
when we
zoning.
get to planning and zoning on the employees, okay.
Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, so on the 478, the economic director, is the economic development person included in the 478, the 62,000?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so that could be moved to the mayor's budget
Yes, sir.
for, so we could do economic development out of the mayor's office?
We can account for that. And actually, it's 86,904 because we included the EREs in that. So, 86, in theory, you could move 86,904 spending authority for next year to whichever department you would want, eliminate it, whatever you want to do, but yes, that's the number.
So it's a funded position that is vacant, so we can use that money for economic development.
Or we can fill it, or whatever council would like.
Okay.
It's on the next page.
So this here, okay.
Other than that, it's basically the same budget.
So we'll get to that one he's requesting, the planning and,
Yeah.
it's only, okay. Okay, so where are we? City.
But I just want you to know, these are two different positions, right?
Okay.
It's not the same.
Yeah, he's requesting the additional, whatever he's requesting. Okay.
Then next comes finance. And that is where you will see under the 6599, the increase from 20,000 to the 120,000. That is where we put Pat Walker as consultant. So when it came out of non-departmental, we moved her into the finance.
How long, what's the contract for Ms. Walker? How many
It's
more
not a
months?
fixed date.
It's what?
It's not a fixed date contract, it's at least,
It's a month-to-month contract?
correct. Not a fixed date.
So how much more time we will be using Ms. Walker?
Yeah,
It's a senior.
on this date, but as soon as we can bring Gene up 100% up to speed and make sure that these that we're where we need to be, then Pat will very happily go on to other business. Trust me.
Do you estimate like maybe
This
another
has other
3
things
months?
in it, not just Walker in here. It's other
So
professional
why
services.
don't, you know who would answer that better? Would probably be Pat when we get it back on.
So to mention it, because
Estimate
not
what
just-
it would be, but it's not gonna be that much longer.
Okay.
I don't anticipate any being much longer.
So, yeah, I have a question. So, so you allocated like the 120,000 for Pat.
Well, it's not all just for Pat. There's other things that are included in
That's,
there.
what are those? That's what I was gonna ask. Cause it's awfully high.
you can go into the.
I mean, I know she gets paid hourly. I check her hourly,
Let me pull that one up for you. I forgot my reading glasses.
Is it in your office?
No,
Yeah, they are.
65.99.
I got it.
Just have.
I'll go ahead and get him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who was that?
Carter.
Oh, it scared me.
So the 120,000 are not just Pat's wages or hourly rate, but also it's been factored in there, and we don't know how long she's going to stay. It could be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. But so there's other people that have other
Right.
consultants
The
like Bernie.
we
Is he
paid
part
Bernie out of there also, yes.
Okay.
And
Isn't he?
he's
He's
finished now,
he's
right?
finished?
For the most part.
Well, I think as far as enough, it's for this fiscal year, and then it might be if we need it for a few more other things, we might. But
But for this fiscal year, he is finished.
for
let me see.
this
I don't know. He's
fiscal
not
year.
finished.
That would-
Almost.
No,
Because he's passed off some of his stuff to me.
no, some of the stuff to you, but it's I think it's for the helping of the closing of the budget.
So I guess,
Oh,
Let me,
helping
let
with
me.
the
I
closing.
can't see either.
Oh,
so.
I'm sorry.
I guess the better question for Bernie is, we don't anticipate him coming back next fiscal year.
No,
But you're still going to utilize them
if needed.
If needed.
if needed. So that's why you've allocated that.
Yeah. So
So
it's mostly Bernie, Pat, and then some other fees that we usually pay to receive.
why is Bernie needed? And I hate to say Bernie, I don't really know him, but Jean, why is Bernie needed? He wasn't needed before, and so I understand Mrs. Walker perhaps kind of consulting and like John says, you're kind of getting to know things better. But why Bernie too? Why that additional cost? Do you think, Jean, that we need Bernie?
At this point, I'm not sure. Everything that Bernie was doing for us, and as soon as we can get through this budget stuff, he's teaching me some of the stuff that he has done. So like some of the reports that they've sent to him for approvals are now coming back to me. So at this point, I'm not sure what all he does,
You don't know what he did.
but I'm learning.
Okay. So you still feel like
He- he
he's
verified-
needed? Just a minute. You feel that he's still needed?
At this point,
At
yes.
this point, okay. You don't feel like you know enough to be able to just depend on Mrs. Walker to guide you.
Right.
Okay.
And he's also our, help.
I know. I checked the.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
checked
They also do the
costing.
billing for like the
Yeah.
companies. That
But my
do the
point
billing
is
for
that,
the ambulance.
we have a finance director already, we have a staff that's been very experienced for a long time there. And, so, I understand that Mrs. Walker is teaching you, but, this is the cost and additional cost that people there are experienced, have been there for a long time. So that's my concern.
Yes.
On item 6899, that the other contractual services,
Yes.
what does that all include?
Let me get 'em.
Okay, the 68.99.
This is doing the same thing as the.
Break.
68.99?
No, I just got
6899.
Yeah. So one off.
from like.
Be the auditor.
I think
I
there's
think it's
a line
admin
item.
service.
Is there a line item for the auditor?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
looking that one
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, we have a line
Professional
item for that.
services.
The professional, yeah.
That's the 90,000.
68.99.
Or the doggone credit card fees.
The what?
By the
It is,
Some of them are
some of it is that.
a lot of the, it's the credit card fees.
100,000 worth.
Most of it is the monthly credit card fees.
That's what the city has to pay every year to allow our customers to pay with a credit card. You know how when you go to the
Yeah.
gas pump, it says,
Yeah, that's what it is, and
when they
it's
pass
going
it on
up.
at the gas pump, it says if you're gonna use, I forget if it's debit or credit card, or one of the two, then it's gonna cost you a little bit more. That, if
It's a
we
Wells
don't
Fargo cost.
pass that on to our
That's on the
customers,
non-departmental, right?
we absorb that. So,
This is just,
that was one of the things that Mrs. Walker talked about, that as we went through this budget, we were trying to identify potential cost savings.
It's a good chunk of money.
Yeah, and so we looked at
Yeah.
100,000, but that would not be something that we would do just randomly. We would put together an order and have a very healthy discussion with our council to see if that's something that we would like to do in the future. For this year,
I guess that's where Pat Walker got her 114,000
Correct.
figure, right?
yep.
And well, we're paying on it to the credit card company, yeah. It adds up over the year, it just goes up and up and up.
It's my understanding that each credit card has a different.
That's correct, yes. They all charge a different percentage,
American Express has a
Right.
different fee.
They're like 2.5%, 1.9, 3.5, depending on the credit card, right?
It's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
uh-huh.
any other questions?
Go ahead, move on.
Okay. Keep your phone.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, I have-
like I said, we have department directors on the hangout.
Yeah.
If you wanna do it that way. If not, we can bring them in here, go over you.
Let's keep them there, you know, so that if there is a question towards that department. But I mean, we're not to that point right now. We're basically going through the rundown on it. Okay.
I'll be in this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Gene.
And in human resources, there were no huge changes. The only big change on the planning and zoning is the fact that the line item 6893, I'm sorry.
Make sure that the council doesn't have any questions about the community.
Okay, I apologize. Sure.
We're not anticipating to have any temporary employees this coming fiscal year?
Not for human resources, no.
In some of these programs, you find that parks.
John, but if we use, for during the season for weed cleaning, what budgets does it come out, you know, for temps on the streets and stuff like that? From streets? That we won't have to talk about human resources or anything like that. That's if we decide to have that.
And what Echo was asking about the youth, because sometimes we'll have a youth.
Yeah, the program for recreation.
Comes out of
Uh-huh.
parks.
Yeah, because, this way we can, that's something I wanted to bring up this year. So we can have some temps to help out for street cleaning and stuff like that. Especially during the monsoon.
On the contractual services, it's $5,000. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure, let me pull it up real quick.
And Carmen, you don't feel shy to jump in here too.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
whoever.
I couldn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
Other contractual services for next year's budget, $5,000, Carmen.
Okay, so what we've used it till now, we've used it for the ID machine and because it's a membership and we have to keep updating that. The other reason, we wanna keep that money, I wanted to look at, well, I've been wanting to, but COVID started and so it's been on hold, to get a scanner and to get another, type of software, which I'm not sure if it will be under contractual services, but I was, recommended to leave it there last year, was for a scanner and trying to put our personnel files, digitally.
Oh, great, yeah, that's a great idea.
So I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't know exactly what the cost yet. We're very in the initial stages of looking into that. So that's the idea, hopefully.
Oh, well, that's a great idea.
Thank you.
End of training.
Are there any other questions under the human resource?
Go ahead, Jay.
I'm sorry, guys, I'm so used to going fast, I need to learn to pause. Okay, so the next comes the planning and zoning, and that's the one where you'll notice on line 6893. It is now 0 because it has been paid in full and it does not continue into the next year. And that's their only big difference.
On the employees, did we include that requested position for economic development?
Mr.
No, at this point, I do not believe that because it's only requested, it is not included in the payroll. Because it has not gone up very much at all.
John, could we, is it necessary to call it a economic development management?
No, I agree with you, Hector. I think we need to look at that name a little bit better and make it more to what I think Sam's looking for.
Did
Okay.
you have a conversation with you on that, Robert? Yeah, we had a brief conversation. Sam, you still on? There you go.
Your guys might.
Sam, talk to the council a little bit about that new position you're requesting and what type of activities you anticipate this person doing.
So one of the intentions behind requesting that position is most local governments, their planning and zoning department usually has an
Página
economic
13, the planning and zoning.
component. And so that was really my intention. And we also get calls, usually on a monthly basis, asking if we offer any incentives in the downtown area, which are known as opportunity zones. The city of Sierra Vista provides building incentives and a reduction of building permit fees for what is called opportunity zones in the city of Sierra Vista. So I think it's something that we need to look at, looking in terms of economic development, incentivizing small business development around the downtown area. And so that's really the kind of the avenue I'm looking at. I'm not looking at it from, purely an economic standpoint. I'm looking at it from a land use, small business incentives, leveraging opportunity zones and trying to look at downtown differently. So that's really like my vision of that. And that could be modified, amended, or deleted as needed. But again, most community development departments usually have an economic development person who can, talk to small businesses about the permitting process or getting a business license or refer or recommend certain sites for development based off of what they're looking for. So again, I'm just shooting this proposal out there. I'm welcome to hear any suggestions or comments to amend as needed.
Mr. Pasa, I'm not questioning the position. I'm questioning the name, the title. So if it would be like economic planning.
Yeah, in theory. So I took this from a job description that was already created, and I just provided that as a draft. Like I was saying, I'm welcome to modify or change or amend as needed. And then some of the bullet points that I put in the budget request form kind of highlight those things I was talking about, the empowerment zone or opportunity zones, looking at downtown in a more of a cultural active area. And then the opportunity zones, they're also a national designated areas designated by HUD. And so what it does is it gives developers opportunity to invest in infrastructure improvements, and they get a chance to get reimbursed back by the federal government. And so, like I said, other small towns along the borders, Sierra Vista, lots of places along Texas, New Mexico, really leverage businesses and business development along those opportunity zones. And so I think if we're competing with those cities, and so I think we look at opportunity zones as a serious way to kind of initiate development in the downtown areas.
Mr. Paz, this is the mayor. Good morning.
Sure.
Hey, for the past 2 years, I've been trying to get incentives done for the downtown area and basically for the city of Nogales, and this is the first time I hear you talk about something like this. What's been happening for the past 2 years?
Well, besides COVID, obviously, but I have not been at the city for the last 2 years, and so that's why I'm trying to introduce this proposal so we kind of look at downtown differently. We also, as many of you know, we also just the voters approved the general plan, and the general plan has qualifying statements that look at incentivizing development, looking at downtown growth, downtown character. And so our general plan really supports the idea for economic planning, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and that's the reason I've been wanting to get incentives done for Nogales, because I was part of the first general plan, before this one. So, and I know it didn't change much from the first to this one. And I know exactly what a general plan does and what it's supposed to mean. But I mean, what I'm saying is I hear you talk about getting somebody to work on incentives when I've been talking to the city managers and about this to get incentives. And matter of fact, I discussed it with some of the members of the city council at the time, and there was one incentive that was brought out, and that was for reducing the cost for connection fees. But that was a trial, a 90-day trial on that. And incentives are very important, Mr. Paz. Every community has them. And it's good to hear you talk about that. But right now I don't know if a person that's going to come in that's going to be talking about incentives is the proper way. I think basically what I think is if you know about these incentives, you should bring that and present it to the members of the city council on a council meeting so we can discuss that.
I'd like to.
I'm more than able to present a variety of ideas that I've seen exercised in other cities that I've been part of in terms of their economic planning. The opportunity zones I mentioned is one avenue. Reduction of building permit fees is another avenue. I also think the downtown area historically struggles with parking, and so maybe looking at providing some kind of parking as a community parking space and then reducing parking requirements on all these small businesses. And so there's lots of them that have been applied over the Southwest, and I can certainly bring those up for discussion at a mayor council meeting if needed.
That'd be great. This way we can get an idea of what, as a council, we could approve, for incentives. It's a good idea, Mr. Paz, and thank you for bringing it up, actually.
You're welcome.
I have a question, Mr. Paz. Actually, I agree. I mean, I haven't heard anything of this sort. Economic development drives this economy, and that's a huge concern for the community, and it has been for years. And I've visited you before. I know I just went by, and it would be nice to have a presentation on something that has been the topic of every election, and everyone in the community asks what we need to do to drive this economy, move the needle. So you seem to have done your research, and you seem to have really great ideas that work in small communities like Nogales. And so it would be nice to, I'll suggest put it on the future agenda item to just give a presentation on your ideas and what will get this needle moving. So thank you.
You're welcome. And like I said, I've been part of many small communities along the Southwest corridor, and I've been involved in their border area master planning, their economic development planning. And so I know a lot of cities out there are trying to move the needle. And I think, it's wise for the city of Nogales to start moving the needle ourselves and start competing with a vibrant downtown area and other incentives.
I second that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Paz, thank you for bringing up economic development. It's very important that we do economic development here in Nogales. Bring a good, healthy economy back to our city. But I see that your position that you're asking for is frozen. So actually, this question is for John. On the city manager's budget, the 86,000 for planning and zoning and advertising and all that, could funds be moved to unfreeze this position? If need be, move money around, because actually we'd kind of be duplicating an economic development director and economic development technician with a position in the city manager position, and you know what I mean. And we could use some of that money for funding for this frozen position.
Well, actually, if it's frozen, the money's there.
So, we have that money in the city managers that you guys just had a conversation about potentially moving. I said, you can move it wherever you want.
Right.
If it's the mayor's and council's desire to move that funding out of the city managers and fund the position that Mr. Paz is talking about, I mean, we can do that. I mean, we'll just do it. If that's the direction you want us to go in, we can do it. It's also included in the contingency reserve that Pat talked about, but that would drop off of there. So it's just an accounting. We can account for it if that's your direction to us on what to do.
Right. Okay.
Actually, if it's frozen, the money's there.
You're gonna have to look.
Doesn't mean.
You're gonna have to look. Sam, was that a frozen position?
Yes.
Economic development from the mayor's office? I'm not sure.
No. In the P and Z position, is that the frozen position that you're talking about here, which if you look at your payroll schedule for P and Z, Sam,
Yes.
okay, you notice you have
Vacant.
those positions there, and one's called vacant frozen, the P and Z building tech.
It's on the next page, John, in the requested position.
Right here, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Following page.
Uh-huh.
That one.
It's a different position. This is a brand new position you're requesting, right, Sam?
Yes, a brand new position.
So it's not a frozen position,
Okay, it's a brand new position.
He's requesting,
a new position.
It's a requested position.
requested, yeah.
So what about the frozen position?
It's,
Which is the Economic Development Management Analyst. So he is asking for a technician. In the frozen position, it says here, Economic Development Management Analyst,
that's right.
included in FY '22 budget as frozen. On the,
That's the one that's in the city manager's department currently.
No.
yeah, because right here it says planning and zoning.
John,
On that one.
no, este no tiene este.
It's a different.
Yeah,
So,
so I think there's a little bit of confusion
yes.
because of the title itself.
right.
So, Mr. Paz is
No,
requesting
lo pasaron después.
an additional FTE, full-time employee, with the amounts under a name similar to economic development. However, the city manager's budget has a frozen position under economic development. Sam also has a tech position that's frozen.
Right.
Yes. So there's two different FTEs, full-time employees being
Good call.
with the same title, one being the new one, which is the one Sam needs, and an additional one that we have under city manager's budget.
Gene? Let me just pause real quick. Do you know these schedules that you have here? Mrs. Lopez doesn't have her copies of her schedules. Could you make sure that we get them?
Make sure who has them? Oh,
Vice
you're right,
Mayor
I'm
Lopez.
sorry.
That's okay, let me get it.
And do you have the salary schedule, Mrs. Lopez?
I do.
Okay.
We need one.
Porque necesitamos de ponerlo.
So I think the confusion comes from the naming of the positions.
Yeah.
He has a frozen position, he wants a new position.
Right.
And there's also a position that's
La que él está pidiendo.
very similar to what he's talking about in the city managers.
Right.
You can move that city manager's money there, you can move it the mayor's budget, you can move it wherever you want to move it.
This is the mayor's,
Pero, vete a la otra page.
So if we have the frozen position
because it's over.
and we're asking for a new
Yeah,
position that's gonna be similar, can you just unfreeze it and retitle the frozen position?
Good question. Sam, what the councilman's asking is, in next year, could you use this new position to also do the tech position, the P and Z building tech position? That's what he's asking. Could you combine the economic development guy who's gonna go downtown and put the incentives together with the building tech, is what his question is, right, Joe?
Right.
Let's make it one.
I think that's something that might work at the beginning phases of it. But my concern would be that, economic development activity starts picking up. And then we're not gonna be able to provide the level of service that we need on the counter, answering phones, processing building permits. So I believe at the initial phase of it, that would
We
work.
get there.
As we go more as a long-term position, we're gonna have to fill in the building tech position.
Well, I think we have to approach this cautiously, a little at a time, and grow as we go. I mean, you can't start up at the top, you gotta start at the bottom and work your way up. And if need be, we could always bring in a new position in next fiscal year. In our next budget, we could always add, like we always add, or freeze positions. If need be, we can, by the time this person gets her training and learns everything, it's gonna be a year or so. So we could start off slow and then work it as we go on and grow as we go. And that would save, instead of having the two positions, we'd have one person trying to do two positions, and that will give us, free up more money for other things that we might need, like the summer programs the mayor's talking about, to get part-time techs to clean the streets and the weeds and all that. So there's gonna be more money needed for other things, so we can, my idea was to put this person in that frozen position, or eliminate the frozen position and put in that tech position, if it makes sense.
John,
So,
You
maybe, I don't know if this helps, if in the discussion, if you're trying to account for dollars.
Right.
Or if you're trying to account for what you want to happen.
We want,
Which is two different things. If
we
you
want to
something
save,
to happen, right?
we want to save money,
But-
and we want to
Right.
grow at the same time.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that the frozen positions are accounted for in your current budget, right? So we don't
Right.
need to add any for these frozen positions, right? And if we continue with them frozen, they remained accounted for in the budget, right? And the reason why they were frozen, if you all remember, from last year, we said, we got this whole COVID thing coming, we don't know where we're gonna be sitting at, let's freeze all the vacant positions that we had. More or less, that's what we said, right? We accounted for them, right? But we didn't fill them or spend the money because we wanted to make sure that this year we ended up okay. These positions, at any time, we can bring in front of mayor and council, because remember we talked about it, we said the frozen positions would be unfrozen by mayor and council decision, right? You could make a decision right now, unfreeze all the positions, right?
Right.
And staff would go out, would put the process together and start filling the position. We wanted to make sure that you saw a comparison to what we had last year to this year, and that's why we were consistent with showing you, this is where we were at last year, what say you for next year, right? So we can do all of the above, Joe. You know, we can eliminate that frozen position, put this position in there, right? We can leave the frozen position there and retitle it, right?
Right.
We can do that. We can do whatever council desire is. And so when we get to the final budget, we'll have what you want in there.
Right. Okay.
So either way,
But-
what Mr. Paz is asking, Mayor and Council, is that he would like to fill his frozen position and bring in the economic development position for him to do the incentives and stuff downtown. What he just got finished saying is, yeah, at the beginning, I can probably use both. So it depends how you want to do it. We could leave, I can make a suggestion that we can leave the building tech frozen until we need them, but I think and I'm not going to speak for him, I'll let him speak for himself. Sam, I don't know if you need the building tech, how bad you need the building tech and when do you need them, and, you know, compared to, if I were to compare that to the economic development position that you're seeking. And what I'm talking about is your day-to-day operation stuff.
So, you know, and the best position for us would be to keep the frozen position and then add the new position that I'm requesting. And so I think they kind of rely on each other. The more business we get, the more business we're going to get.
John, I have a question. What are the similarities or the differences between the economic development that's on the mayor's department and the planning and zoning?
Right.
So are the descriptions and job responsibilities, are they the same? That way we could move that funding from the mayor's department
Right.
to the planning and zoning. And we'd have both, you know, we can have the frozen position for both of them.
The difference is $14,000. That's the difference.
No, I
One
mean-
is 60, this is 74,000.
No, I'm not talking about the money, I'm talking about the responsibilities.
There's similar responsibilities, it
Are-
seems like.
is-
Okay,
is
so-
he- okay,
Get
go
that.
ahead.
Can I ask one quick, Sam, one thing? Is, you put 74,459 on this one? Is that what going rate is for a person like that, or?
No, I believe I put the salary as the 50, that was the salary rate 50.
No, but I mean, this is including benefits and everything.
Yes,
Yeah,
that includes all the benefits, insurances, and everything.
yeah. See, there's a
Yeah,
difference, there's a
so-
difference between 74,000 including benefits forever and 60,000
But Mayor,
one time. Yeah,
the 60,000,
but I understand.
the 60,000 one isn't 60,000, it's 89.
well, that's if it stays
If we
as
put
an
a-
economic
if we put a-
development person,
If we put a person,
a person attached to it.
Absolutely,
But you don't put a person attached to it.
then then.
Just use it for advertisement, for newspapers, for billboards, for the signs that we bought, that we're putting up on the street. That's different. That's money that's going to be used maybe just one time, or if it improves, it gets taken off the budget. This one remains in the budget.
Right.
As long as it is, you know, and that's the difference that I see on it, you know. So if you were to use some of this money that he wants for an economic and add it to the frozen one and utilize one person to do both things while that person is basically learning about Nogales, because you're not going to bring somebody out of Nogales and decide to do incentives just like that. That's his position as planning and zoning, to present it to the council for us to approve the incentives. You can't make incentives up unless you bring it to the council. So, you know, like I told them right now, we've been trying to work on incentives for years. On my first term, I tried working on incentives, and never was it ever brought up by the planning and zoning director at the time. And it was brought up every time there was an opportunity. Members of the councils tried to pass some, and the only incentive that we ever got passed was the 90-day one last year.
No, Mr. Mayor, we
But that's what I'm saying, John,
We
you know.
did pass some incentives, and I can bring them up and bring them to you. We passed those in previous administration is backed by our economic development management analyst guy.
Yeah,
Remember? And it was for downtown revitalization.
Yeah.
We made the zone.
that's when Aaron was here.
Right,
Yeah.
right. We still have those on the
Yeah.
books, and I can bring them back up, give them over to Sam, or give them to the new person that we hired here. However we decide to move forward as a team, I mean, we're here to help make that happen.
Yeah, but like the incentives he's talking about is reducing the cost on the planning and zoning, the reviews, the connection fees.
Connection fees.
Aaron never did that. His incentives were different.
I'd have to review them. It's been a while, but I'd have to go back and review.
It was different because I helped him, because it was during my time in the office.
Remember?
I helped him develop some of the packets that we sent
Correct.
for some of the stores that are now at Mariposa.
Mhm.
So but that was a whole different, that was a sale thing that we're trying to do, give them, but not, we didn't give those companies over there, hey, if you move to Nogales, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that.
No, it was for downtown. It was a revitalization or redevelopment incentive for the downtown area. It was geographically marked out and what have you. I'll refresh those.
Yeah.
And send them over.
But
send them over to Sam.
it is a good idea to get something going, but you can use some of that money from the frozen one to add more money to this, to have somebody, from that position, not only be incentive person or economic person, but also be a person that's going to help out with the building, the plan reviews or whatever he can use that person. That's my suggestion. I don't know about you.
I have my opinion.
Go ahead.
I don't see the planning and zoning handling economic development, to be very honest. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay. But I mean, let's keep this for now anyway. We're not going to be, this is the way, I told everybody, Vice Mayor, before you came, that we were going to be voting on something until we had the whole board on board. But anything that has to do with employees, I think, let's keep it to the very ending. Let's discuss it. That's all right if they want to discuss it. But to make that vote on that money person, or the people, like the people for Public Works and the police officers that are, vacant positions, let's keep it for the very end and let's have a packet on that.
Okay.
Keep this in mind, write it down, so that when we do finish the whole process, then at the very end, we'll say, okay, here comes the employee packet, all right? Planning and zoning is requesting this. How do we go? Do we vote on it? Public Works wants this, Recreation wants this, and I think that's the best way to do it. Right now, you're basically giving us an idea of the cost of their budget and a partial wish list of the departments. But for instance, here, police, general.
Gene Pat sent off a revised one to
Right.
include what we just talked about, so I think she's probably still on board and just updating it.
Like on this,
So it'll not say frozen, it'll say new.
Right.
Perfect.
on these pages, these 3 pages you gave us, is there anything on Public Works?
Mayor,
Yes,
thank
go
you,
ahead.
Mayor. Today, we're doing general fund.
Yes,
We'll give you these pages when we go. to
yes,
the-
yes, but you give us these pages with employees on there and vacant positions.
For general funds.
Just general.
Yeah, the other one, I understand.
Okay.
But we're talking about employees.
Yes,
Does Public Works need employees?
yes.
Okay. I think we should have had something to present it to, that for something that that we can be looking at. If Public Works going to need employees or,
Ye-
you know what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
talking about.
Yes. No, you'll get one of these when we do water. You'll get one of these when we do the enterprise funds.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Like I
Que
said,
metes un paquetito y digo yo. I don't
This
see
is-
the one that's got value, for the city, but that's all right. We can get the little paquetito later. But do you understand, Mr. Paz? We'll come back to those 2 positions when we start voting on future or opening of vacant, or not vacant, but frozen positions and possible new positions?
Yes, sir, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Mr.
much,
Paz.
Mr. Paz.
Thank you, Sam.
Welcome.
Anybody else have any more questions?
Is there any
for
more
Sam
questions
or
for PNC? No?
Okay, so
Jean?
So the next is the city clerk. The only major change there is in her advertising, and that's where we're going to put in any advertising for the annexation.
Okay. Who came up with that cost for the advertisement, Gene?
Letty and Mr. Massey work together to
They
come up
figured
with
that's 8,000
an
is
estimated cost.
estimated cost? Okay.
It's not that bad. Okay.
Any other questions with the clerk? All right. Next is MIS. And for them, there are a couple increases in the repairs and maintenance. They are doing a couple different capital projects. One of them is a wireless link between City Hall and Public Works. And then they also have submitted a 5-year plan for replacing equipment throughout the city.
John,
Go ahead.
on this new budget, are we including we were supposed to change the video system here in the City Hall chambers. Have we done, we haven't done that yet, right?
Right.
It was not budgeted last year.
So, Jose, do you have budget, or potential budget for, video equipment for council?
Yes, yeah, it's included in there.
It's probably under your capital, right?
Software.
It's not under the capital, it's under the small computer and equipment, because
Okay.
it's, the cameras that we're looking at are just a few $100.
30. Go on.
7013.
Yeah, 7013.
30,000.
And so that one item is used throughout the whole city, right? Department,
Yeah, it's
right?
for replacing some of the smaller equipment, computers and whatnot. The capital equipment is, very important, at least for, that 5-year plan. The wireless link, would be nice to have, for redundancy, but, if there's a question, at the very least, we need to have a replacement of that, continue on the 5-year plan to replace, the hardware that was, outlined in, that was included in the packet.
Mr. Maldonado?
Jose, do you have anything allocated, hopefully wish list, if we do the move to move the court system into the Chase Bank?
We've got a bunch of quotes ready, we got to review them, but no, I haven't included, the Chase Bank building in my budget.
Yeah,
Mr. Maldonado?
yes, sir.
That's part of one of the discussions we'll have at the end of the whole budget. We've allocated $2 million for potential spending at the Chase Bank. Unrestricted, it's not for just construction
So
or whatever. It's for however we
Jose
do
will
that.
have part of it.
And if
Okay.
within next year's budget, we need to use some of that money to buy IT equipment to effectuate that move, that's where
Okay.
it would come from.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, sir. So it's not really in this budget yet because we need to make decisions at the end of the day.
Jose,
Yes.
have you done any collaboration with Santa Cruz County regarding broadband?
No.
Can
As
you?
far as, providing it to.
Providing it,
residents?
yeah, to our residents here, because I know they've been getting some grants regarding that. I've been sitting in some of the meetings with the Port Authority, and they're really moving on the broadband expansion and getting some grants going and stuff like that. Can you tell me a little bit about why we don't benefit in collaborating with Santa Cruz County regarding broadband expansion?
Well, I can reach out to them and see if there's anything we can do to see how we can benefit from it. But we haven't done that yet.
Well, with the American Rescue Plan, as you probably know, I'm preaching to the choir, but there is a lot of funds allocated for that, and of course, even the state provides some funds. And from what I, privy to see and hear from the meetings with the discussions they're having with the director there, so it would be a great idea if you could reach out. I mean, it behooves us to collaborate with them.
Okay, yeah, I'll reach out to them.
Okay, just let me know. Let us know. Thank you, Jose.
Okay.
Any other questions with MIS?
Yes,
Sure.
Oh, sure.
Jose, on those 244,000 that you have on the repair, maintenance, equipment, that's for the entire city?
Yeah, it's for all the major contracts, the Stillman, Encode, our antivirus, the RGIS. It's just all of our software. We keep a maintenance contract on everything.
Don't the departments get billed for some of this maintenance and expenses? Let's say if you do something for the police department, don't they pay part of that maintenance and repair?
Right now, it's in my budget. We used to have it that way, and it's happening that these maintenance contracts were not even paid, so everything was moved over to our department. The only ones that don't come over is the enterprise funds. They still take care of their own maintenance contracts. We take care of pretty much everything that's not an enterprise or the library. They take care of their own because they have a split with the county.
So do you meet with each department before every budget year and ask and have them provide you with an estimate of what they'll be needing for for the coming year?
We're the contacts for these different vendors. So we're the ones that actually know what the maintenance contracts are. We're the ones that maintain them.
All right, thank you.
One more question from me, Jose, on the toners and ink. This is just probably a silly question, so excuse it, but you've allocated zero funds to it. Is it because every department has their own funds for it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right. A little, from my experience, the ink runs out quickly.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for?
Jose, Councilman Bonilla. I see here in your computers and software and small equipment you have 30,000, but anything that's being manufactured right now overseas, there's a big crisis right now as far as computers being built or anything that's digital based due to the shortage of chips and all that due to that factory that burned down in China. Have you sort of projected the inflation on this equipment? Because I'm seeing here it's 30,000, but I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit more than that, just due to the crisis right now in the industry.
No, we did. 30,000 has been enough for us because we're just replacing some of the smaller stuff, a computer here and there. But yeah, no, I just kind of left it the same. I wasn't sure because there was increases in other places. I just wanted to keep the budget as low as I could.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Jason.
Okay.
Thank you, Jose.
Next is the city attorney office. Now you'll notice on his budget that we used to have under 6186, under contract criminal, it now says 0. And that is because the amount for the contracted attorney is moved down to 6899, where it is supposed to be. And that's where it used to be, and then they moved it up, and now they've moved it back down.
So what's 6540? What's that expense for?
Oh, for legal?
Yeah, that one currently is for, primarily has been used for contractual attorneys. As an example,
Outside.
PwC is a main component of that.
Yeah.
And any other outside attorneys we usually have for appeals and stuff like that that are handled externally, basically.
Okay, so that's not included in
Is that
other.
right, Mike? I don't know if you're up there or not.
He was here a little bit ago.
But yeah, that's where that's where that number comes from. Outside
Well-
attorney, outside legal.
Because 6899 says also other contractual services, and it's 106,000. Is that this, would that be part of that? When you bring in outside legal assistance or legal?
96,000 of that is the criminal attorney that comes in.
96,000.
And then I can look up and let you know what else comes out of there.
What did you ask?
Because I'm asking about what's the difference with legal and another contract, professional services.
Oh, I was gonna ask that.
Huh?
I was gonna ask that. I have it
It's legal
highlighted.
research services. So, doing research.
Is that like Westlaw and all that? What is that?
Yeah, city manager, I stepped out to the bathroom.
Is that,
City attorney?
Is he coming in?
Yeah, I hope he's right there, yeah.
Oh, perfect.
You have to pay fees for those Westlaw and all of that.
Explain.
Explain, Mr. Massey.
So you were here earlier and you left.
Explain, Massey.
Well, I'll let you know, we just cut half of your budget.
We'll work twice as hard then.
Just joking, Mike.
some it's coming out of your salary?
You know that Westlaw? You know that Westlaw you guys have?
Yeah.
You know Westlaw?
Lexus, we have.
You have Lexus?
We have Lexus.
Used to have?
We have it.
Oh,
Is that what you're paying? Is that your?
Let me see.
Right here. So we're
that the
talking
legal
about
services?
like this, the legal services.
Yeah, okay. Training.
Do you mind?
No, on the legal.
Yeah, I just wanted to carry what we had from a year ago
65.
on training. So, oh, professional legal services or training?
Professional services.
Yeah, so,
Legal.
Well, first, the question was on legal, on 6540,
40?
yes?
and
That's for outside legal counsel, when we have to retain counsel on legal matters. We've been carrying 100,000, it seems like, for the last couple of years, but we don't get close to 100,000, so I'm dropping it down to 70 in this budget, but we're looking at possibly having some, and we'll have some executive sessions coming up, but we're looking at so a couple of pending matters that if they don't get settled, we have, since they're contract matters, the insurance pool only provides limited defense costs, and at some point, we would end up picking up the bulk of the defense costs. But I think both of those cases are susceptible for settling. And we have had a settlement conference in one, and we'll be bringing an executive session to the council on June 2nd agenda. And then in the other one, we'll probably schedule a settlement conference sometime this summer. And if everything works out and everyone's reasonable, we can settle that. So if that's the case, then a lot of that won't be touched. But if we can't settle both of them, then that is something that we would be relying on to fund defense costs.
And on the item 6899, other contractual services, notice that it went up to, that you're requesting 106,000?
I can
Right,
explain
great.
that from.
That's right.
I'll jump in.
Thank you, John.
If you look on item number 6186, you'll see that
Jerry
there was
said.
$96,000 budget, 88 spent so
Is that
far
Greg?
this year. We
Criminal.
moved that down because that's Greg.
That's correct,
And
yeah.
Greg shouldn't be up in the payroll, he should be up because he's contracted. So that's all that is, Hector, it's just moving, putting it down there. If you look at the bottom line of the city attorney, his expenses actually have gone, his budgeted, anticipated budget expenses for next year have gone down.
Okay.
So Mr. Solares is a contractual worker?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was that just recently? Is that for?
I think
it's
it's
been a-
always been.
He's always
So
been,
it
since
was
I've
just
been.
on a wrong line item?
Right.
Something.
I mean, it was. I didn't know about wrong line. I mean, he was that the funds were there. Whether you call it payroll or contractual service, I think it's a little bit more accurate to call it contractual services rather than payroll. So every year we try to do things a little bit better. You know, maybe correct those little areas.
I have one more question. So going back to the legal, the professional services, I know you talked at length about getting outside legal counsel in some
Yes.
of the sensitive situations,
Yes.
cases, I guess.
Yes.
Where are the legal fees? Do we still have the lawyers that do the work for the IOI?
Yes, that's a great question, Councilmember Montiel. We have, as of a couple of years ago, with the assistance of the city manager and the finance department, since those legal costs are directly associated with the cost of the sewer enterprise fund, we take those legal fees right out of the sewer enterprise fund as part of the operational costs. And those fees are ongoing. I recently retained Osborne Maladon, two attorneys from Osborne Maladon, relatively smallish, almost boutique firm in Phoenix that specialize in government issues. And so Mary O'Grady is the outside attorney that we're looking at the entire legal posture of the city. The status that we're in is we're looking at doing mediation later this summer to see if IBWC's focus is on getting the city to resume payment, and of course payment at their level and the back payment. So that's what they're asking for. And then we're looking at also what is our legal relationship with IBWC and what, if any, remedies do we have when things just don't go right? And so we're looking at it from a much bigger perspective. And that has required them to bring in some attorneys from the Department of Justice. And they're just getting their feet under them, these new attorneys from the Department of Justice. So that's delaying
So to make
the mediation.
to make it just a little bit. So basically, the attorneys that you hire to deal with the IOI is Osborne from the
Osborne Maladon.
Maladon. Okay, so it's no longer who we used to have.
Right,
Okay, so we had two attorneys doing the IOI,
right,
Gene and okay.
Mr. Machado.
So they're no longer on board.
Correct.
Okay. And
They
so-
are available as resources though, but yes. they're
And have
not
you
active.
allocated? I don't see this. Is it on sewer?
It should be, it
Oh,
should
so
be
you
part
put
of
it on
the sewer enterprise fund.
And where? Oh, okay.
As operating costs,
Is it operating cost?
yes.
Oh, what do you want? The old one? Oh. Okay, so, all right. So they're just on, contractual basis.
Correct.
Okay, being paid out of the
Yes.
sewer fund, okay.
Right.
So these fees that this new firm will be charging, and they're, being, I know Westbourne, they're big fees. They're very,
We're getting the government discount though, but still is
you
pretty.
answered my question.
pretty
So are they paying partially from the fund, the government fund?
I'm sorry?
How are you paying them hourly?
From
Where are
the
you getting from?
From the sewer enterprise fund.
Okay,
Right, so that is in addition to this 70,000, which is more or less a contingency in case the contract-related pending cases kind of what we call would be blow up and get really expensive as far as defense costs. The one case we would be looking at possibly retaining a forensic accounting expert, which would tend to, would add to the fees in addition to the normal legal fees.
okay. And this will continue to be ongoing and ongoing until there's some,
Until there's a settlement.
and
or
it could be, again, years and years and years and years and years.
Yes.
I mean, there's history
It could
behind
be.
this. It could be, yeah.
But if everyone's reasonable, we'll look at it and we'll try very seriously to look at what a settlement could be. That's reasonable for all parties.
So Gene, when we get to the sewer and water and sewer, that line item should include part of that legal
It should,
expenditure?
yes.
And we still have, I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still putting into the sewer budget that we will be paying IBWC for treatment expenses. Because at some point, probably this next fiscal year, we'll be looking at, again, as a mediation, which would, if everything is successfully concluded, we would be resuming some payments on the operational side for treatment costs.
So you're looking at after mediation, let's say, mediation takes place and all that, are you looking to get reimbursed?
Well,
Would be nice, right? Years of negotiating and mediating and going back and forth. Probably not.
Yeah, usually on any successful mediation, one of the phrase is both sides carry their
Absorbs
own
the
attorney's
cost.
fees
They'll
and costs,
absorb it.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
But that's what would be anticipated.
Okay.
That's it.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Messi.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
Let's continue.
Okay, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Oh, and that's the, okay. Thank you.
And next comes the city court, and there weren't any significant changes there.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
I don't think we have Vanessa on the screen. If there are questions for Vanessa, I'm gonna have to go down and find her because she has court scheduled, so. She's on the bench, yeah, so we might, if there is any questions, we might have to come back to it. Or if there is no questions, whatever comes of desire.
I would have a question.
Oh, changes.
You wanna take a short recess and I can go see if she's available?
Nah, don't bother her.
Okay, would you like to come back to it?
Yeah.
Or is there something you think we could answer?
No, I was just gonna ask about the legal, professional service for legal on the court. Is that in, combined with the legal expenditures that we have up here with the legal department, or?
No, totally different. So, I know they have to pay for, like public defenders and stuff like that out of the fund. So I think that's what that is. But no, it is different from the representative. We don't pay our city attorney to do any court.
It's an increase of 5,000 from last.
Yeah.
Maybe you can answer this one, John. So you can try, yeah, and you have a lot of institutional knowledge. On the current budget, 299, it went up to 330. Are they?
Talking about the salary?
Yeah, the
budget?
payroll. Yeah,
The
let's
payroll?
go back to the
Okay,
payroll.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
That's okay.
I should name the.
I can
Yeah.
probably help there.
So it went and increased, and maybe Jean can too. It increased to 330. Are they just raises they got in the past, or is that kind of playing a role?
Yeah,
Because I know that she made a presentation at one time to the board and, I mean, to council.
and we made
It
some
was, okay.
adjustments. Did we make some adjustments?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what the.
That's what it is? Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, Gene, let's move on.
Any other
All
questions?
right.
Are we good with the city clerk? No, I don't need to go get it.
Okay. So for the library, they have asked for an additional person
Additional.
for an aide. And then one thing that Pat noted this morning was that their capital expenditures were not part of this budget. It is a little over 64,000. It is to repair their roof.
I have a question. Since it's titled city and county, does the county share any of the expenses with the city?
They do.
You do?
I don't know how much.
I'm sorry?
You want to know how much?
Yeah. Half?
Half expensive?
So, well, except for the employees, are they include? They include the employees? Oh, wow.
Because there's employees over there too, right? In Santa Cruz.
The city of Nogales employs all county employees. They all come to our payroll. The ones that Rio Rico, Tupac, all of them.
So
The county gives us half of the budget. Okay, they write us a check for whatever the budget is, half of it. But Hector, the city writes a check to the county for rabies control
Animal
for
control.
half of their budget. Really? It's a wash, because the budgets are very similar. They're both about $500,000 budgets.
For
So
who-
250 goes to them, 250 comes to us.
for
At the end of the day, it's a wash.
for what service was that?
Animal control.
Animal control. Okay. All right.
Okay. Anything else for the library?
Yeah, Jean, I do. On the additional position, is that, what did you say again it was for? I mean, it's a position, but it was the.
It's for a
addition-
library aide position.
It's an aide? Okay. How many employees do they have right now, the Nogales Library? Oh, no, I'm sorry, yeah. I know. A little bit. We got these this,
Total funded position.
is it 13?
Are some of those temporary, John, or part-time? Because I noticed their salary are really low.
Yes, sir. Those are the tutors.
Okay.
Those are the tutors that we-
Thank you, Jean.
And the repair, I'm sorry, you mentioned the repair to the building. Is that the entire roof or
Yes, I believe so.
64,000? It's a big chunk.
Well, things are so expensive now. I don't see it that bad.
We don't fix it now, it's gonna be 100,000 in 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If we wait.
Yeah.
Wait 3-4 more months.
Yes, it's terrible.
Wait till the
By the end,
monsoon's
yeah,
over.
by the end of the summer, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I just have a administrative question to either of the managers. Is the library open now from 8 to 5, or what's the library hours? You know, if you can tell us, is it?
Anita's there.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, Mayor and Council.
Hello?
Yes, the library staff is here, 3 staff members that I have at the moment. We're here 9 to 5, and the hours are 10 to 4, Monday through Friday.
Are those hours, Mrs. Lopez, to the public too? What are the hours for the public?
10 to 4.
10 to, Monday to Friday?
And I apologize, that position is for an assistant, not for an aide. It's an
Okay.
assistant.
All right, thank you.
John, I have a question. I'm seeing here that you said that the county and the city both go half and half. When these employees retire, who's on the hook for their retirement?
For the ones for the animal control?
Oh, no, for the library.
Library. City is.
City.
Yeah. For our employees.
Okay.
But on the contrary, right, the opposite, we're not on the hook for adult control.
And the 64,000 comes out from our budget for the roof. The 64,000.
Half.
The seguro. Yeah, but the building belongs to the city.
I know, in the car, remember the trucks?
Yeah.
They belong to the county.
Mándale la cuenta, eh? Yeah. Okay, we're ready? Let's go to the other one, Jane.
So for the police, their big increase is looking into leasing 4 additional vehicles. And that is under line 7850, under the debt financing cost.
Don't they get subsidized for that, the vehicles on the police, or grants or something like that?
We're not getting it on Stone Garden?
So, currently there are 5 funded that are being built right now by Ford with a delivery date of October. There are limitations to the use of those cars. I know the chief can probably answer more to that. He's on board. And there's potentially a couple more scheduled if awarded late this year. But those also have limitations on the use. And those are through Stone Garden.
Limitation as far as mileage or?
No, limitation as to how they are applied. For example, they should be used for Stone Garden operations, securement of the border, stuff like that. They can be used for emergency type of calls. And I know the chief was gonna have some dialogue with the director of the State Homeland Security Office to get that hammered out, to see how far we can use those vehicles. There wasn't an issue in the past. There are some issues now with those type of vehicles, or with the use of those vehicles.
I have a question on the payroll.
Go ahead.
There's a frozen position for lieutenant, vacant frozen. And then you have on the requested positions, you have a request for a lieutenant with the same salary.
The request is to increase.
Okay, so the request is to increase it, not to add another one? And what about the other requested positions, or they're not, well, if they're requested, they're not included in the budget, right?
That is correct. The requested new position, there is 1, 2, 3,
4.
4, 5. It looks like the request. I'm gonna have to reconcile that. I don't know if they're asking for 4 lieutenants. I'm gonna make a guess. So the schedule. Gene, you know the answer to that. Is this request that you have requested positions, is that a request to increase the positions that are in the current salary schedule?
So what I understand is the frozen positions are included in the budget, and the
Yes.
requested are not. But we have that one lieutenant position that's frozen and the one's requested. So
Isn't, Robert, the one that's requested is moving your position back in? Because remember, it was pulled out and you were moved into the city manager budget.
Robert's position budget.
Is it in there now? Oh, I'm sorry.
all three.
I didn't see that.
All three lieutenant positions are included in.
Oh, it is, I'm sorry.
The salary schedule, but there's this one that says requested lieutenant. I'm not sure.
It would be a fourth?
Is Chief here?
Both chiefs are on.
Yeah, Roy is here.
Any chief? Tex? Hey, Tex. Unmute, Tex.
Amir.
And Roy's, both of you guys are on, but we have a schedule here that shows a request for lieutenant. But is the true statement, what you're asking is to unfreeze the current frozen lieutenant position?
Yes, so right now we have Robert's position as a lieutenant, and then we have another lieutenant that we have tangible. However, we had a third lieutenant which I had issues filling, but there's a need to fill it now because of the span of control that for accountability. So yeah, we're asking for 3 lieutenants in total.
In total, not 4.
Not 4, no, just 3.
So in his current budget, Mr. Mayor and council, in salary schedule, he has the 3 lieutenants, 1 being the frozen. So having that said, these requests that you have here are to unfreeze. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, if that's gonna get me to 3 lieutenants, tangible 3 lieutenants, yes.
Well, what I, hi, who am I talking to? Jimenez or Roy? Both? Okay. Okay, so I'm sorry if I didn't understand this correctly, but, so the lieutenant on the requested is an additional, when Robert goes back, isn't that one there? Isn't that one?
Makes it 2.
So the
Yeah,
confusion is-
that's
is
thank you.
There's no additional request for another lieutenant. It's to unfreeze one that's been frozen.
That's what I'm, yeah.
Frozen since last year.
Total count for lieutenants will only be
3.
All 3 are budgeted, one is frozen. We just want to be able to thaw that person out and get them a year. Makes sense?
I think so. Thank you.
So I have a question here. So if we unfreeze 3 lieutenants,
No,
one lieutenant position.
It's Bill's old position. Bill Morale's old position.
Oh, okay. So will a sergeant be getting promoted?
That would be.
Yes, that's the whole.
Okay, and then we'll have to promote a sergeant and a corporal, and,
Yeah.
everything will be going.
From that point on, everything should be okay.
Everything should be okay, okay.
Chief, but you're also asking for more patrolmen, ¿verdad?
Yes, sir, I'm asking for 3 more, actually 3 more and a detective. What happened last year, Mr. Mayor, is that there was some miscommunication on the detective position that was not filled. And I believe there was a confusion that position for detective had been open for 2 years, when in fact it had been open for approximately 2 months because of a promotion that I promoted a detective to sergeant. And so we were in the process of testing to fill that position, but there was a miscommunication that position was open for 2 years, which is not the case. So then that was taken off my budget, or frozen, or taken off completely. But I need that position because I'm short 1 detective in investigations right now.
Okay, Chief, so what we're gonna be doing is, thank you for giving us that information, it's good. We're gonna come back to where, just for the employees that are frozen and vacant positions, to make a deciding vote, so that we can either fill them, or whatever we can do to help you. But I know for a fact, just by the workload you guys have, that you do need the personnel. So we're gonna come back with that and to make a decision. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Roy, just so we can clean this up.
Yes.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking at the schedule that finance put together for us for the police department, chief. And it's showing a total of 5 positions. It's my understanding, just looking at this, 2 of them are already included in your salary schedule. One is the lieutenant that we had a lot of discussion about right now. And the other one is PD corporal. That's also listed as vacant. So in reality, what you're attempting to doing in this year's budget is to increase your FTEs by 3. Is that correct, Chief?
That's correct.
Your total FTEs, whether they're frozen or whatever. So we'll correct that schedule for going forward.
So it's 3.
Yeah, those 2 bottom ones are already
Bottom.
on there. They're booked twice.
I have one more question on the vehicles that you'd like to lease. On the lease, is there restrictions like mileage and things like that on the vehicles, or you could put as many miles on it as you can?
No, yeah, there's no restriction, Councilman, on the miles. It's a 5-year lease, outright, so, we're basically buying the vehicle in 5 years.
Right.
And-
So you buy the vehicle after 5 years, you could buy it for $1 or $100 or something like that. And they'll give you the
Right.
title, right? Okay. Yeah, that's a good lease. Yeah, that's good.
Might as well have this conversation now.
Okay.
Might as well.
Okay, sure.
It's bound to happen, right?
Yeah, right.
What we're doing with the leases, as you look at a budget, you want to put your operation budget with incoming revenues. Because that way, every year, you get new revenues coming in, and that's what your operation is. Your capital, typically, you don't want to stick in here. And what the leases does, when we lease, it gets operational monies, right? And we tie it up for 5 years,
Right.
right? So you might hear a recommendation at the end of this process by Mrs. Walker that we do not lease these vehicles and we go out and we buy them with that contingency reserve that she showed you. And that way we can free up those dollars in ongoing costs. Kind of confusing, but this is your checkbook and the other one's your savings. You know, should we buy the vehicle out of savings and not have a monthly payment? In other words, if we have the money.
Right. I did that with a tow truck, so
There you go.
Lease them or buy?
leased. I've done that with 2 of the trucks, so and it works out really well. I'm happy with that lease, and then you buy it at the end of the lease.
Can you go 120 miles an hour on the tow truck?
No, they're governed. They go about 80 miles an hour.
80?
Yeah.
What am I mad
Yeah.
at that?
Yeah.
John, and
John, so
Yes,
is there a savings buying them? See, tell me. Oh, you tell me. You no.
Right now, the quote for the ones on lease would be right at around 68,000.
For 5-year lease.
Yeah, but the difference is you're tying up 5 years worth of money,
Yes.
right? And the other way, a one-shot deal, and you're done for 5 years.
So it looks.
They don't fall under a state program?
yes,
Like
The
when we,
purchase?
yeah,
Yeah, we buy them off a state bid.
okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, okay.
So there is a savings there.
There is, yeah. If it's a state, if it's under state, and it's a police package and everything.
Yes, sir.
The plus side to the lease is it's not a big hit upfront, but it's a continuum.
And it ties up spending authority that we can apply in
Yeah.
otherwise.
Okay.
Otherwise.
And then at the initial deal, you don't have to pay sales tax. And that would be a big hit. So if you lease, you don't pay sales tax.
So there's pros and cons.
Yeah,
to
right,
leasing.
right.
And like I said, you're gonna see several leasing options within the budget. At the end of the budget presentation, when we're all said and done, we'll weigh out those options and bring it to mayor and council to decide, do you want to buy these cars? Or do you want to lease these cars?
Yeah.
What's the benefit of buying? What's the benefit of leasing as it relates to the budget?
Right.
Yeah, it's good.
Some of these vehicles
Contemplate.
are funded by the Stone Garden.
That's what
Yeah.
Robert was talking about. The vehicles that will be funded by the Stone Garden, in my understanding, will be restricted. So they can only be used for Stone Garden activities. The chief needs vehicles to do everything else.
And you'll probably be sidelining 4 vehicles
Yeah.
when you get the new
When
vehicles?
you get new vehicles, you
Yeah, you just sideline 4 of the worst ones, right, or the
And
oldest?
that's what creates the rush on these vehicles, because we do have some vehicles who are costing us more to run them than it is to just try it outright.
Right. Right, yeah. Yeah, they nickel and dime you to death. Once they get to a certain point, it's not worth keeping them anymore.
I just have one question, John, really quickly, or whoever. Just one. I'm just curious. I was trying to ask you right now, but I know that you were trying to explain something else. You're just, so the insurance where's the insurance cost to insure these cars?
The insurance cost to insure the city
car, yeah.
You'll find that in non-departmental. If I'm
Okay.
not mistaken, because it's one bill and you just pay it out in
Oh, that's why it's not here in this line item, okay. And I just have it's the same question, I'm just kind of like, so, when policemen take these or use these city vehicles for other assignments other than city assignments, so if they have some other part-time job on the side and they use city vehicles, does that place the city liable if something happens?
That's a great question.
Is it a great question?
It
Good,
is,
thank
and
you.
So I can probably pose it this way. All activity by police officers, whether they're on duty, off duty, in uniform, out of uniform, places the city in some type of jeopardy of liability. Now, how much, do other people cover some of the liability? Absolutely. So if there's a police officer, and then what we're talking about is, let's say, a police officer's working for Ames Construction or Walmart doing something, before the police officer can go and engage in those activities, Walmart needs to prove up an additional $1 million in insurance coverage that covers the police officer activity.
Okay.
But the question was, is there a liability to the city? There's always a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So liability for the city, that's just part of operating the city. We try to minimize it as much as possible, so when they go work for Walmart or a construction company, we ask for that additional insurance to soften that liability.
Well, you told me to ask one, that's why. Thank you. Yeah, follow-up question. Thank you.
Anything else on police?
No.
Go to fire.
So for fire, there's no huge changes. You will notice that the pension retirement has gone up some. And then they have also asked for,
Part-time FTE.
yes, a part-time person, and I know that Chief, is he here?
Yes.
He can touch on that part-time position.
Okay, one quick question.
Sure.
On pension retirement contribution, we had basically budgeted 1.6, and year-to-date, there's 1.1. Is that drop for any type of reason, or almost 500,000 difference?
The pension went from 1.6 million to 1.9 million. Is that-
Right, but he was asking about why we've only paid out 1.1.
Good question.
Council, I've been listening in the background, and I just want to jump in. This is Pat Walker.
Hey, Pat.
That's year-to-date that's on there, and that would just be through when we printed it today. We still have another month to go, and so you don't have the estimated in front of you. You have the year-to-date on one, and then it jumps the next year, because you're still in police, correct?
No, we're in fire.
You get fire. Okay, so fire, the percentage average for next year is 70.88% overall on PSPRS contributions.
Did that go up, Pat?
Yes, it did.
So that could explain the difference.
Right.
And Pat, do you believe that we're gonna come close to hitting the 1.6 million by the end of the year, or did we project
Yes.
that out?
Yes. Not as much, because if you have turnover, you don't contribute, because there's no salary to contribute to. And we had some turnover, and some people haven't been in the system yet, so it's gonna be less than 1.6, but there'll be more added for the rest of the pay periods of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you for clearing it, Pat.
I have a question for the chief. Chief, this is Councilman Bojorquez. You're requesting a fire inspector. We don't have a fire inspector on board right now?
So we have the battalion chief who has his ability to do inspections. One of the things is, so ISO is coming up, the ISO inspection, and we're supposed to be in every commercial structure annually and doing inspections on that. And so there's a lot of commercial structures, and we need to have more people be able to do that. Now, the battalion chiefs that we are in the process of hiring right now are also going to be required to get their inspector to help out. But the inspector is actually inspector public education. Right now, we are doing, like if a warehouse wants a class on fire extinguishers, then the battalion chief, who's a fire marshal as well, will go out and do that. If they want a class on first aid, they'll do that. Part of what we're trying to do with this position is help us lower our ISO, so when we're attracting businesses to the community, we can say, hey, look, our ISO rate went down from, assuming it goes down when they do the inspection, but our ISO went down. We're trying to use that position to be public education, help with inspections, and also help lower our ISO rate for basically business recruitment. Because it gets them a lower insurance rate if we are lower than the surrounding departments.
So a part-time would be like how many hours a week, or is that enough for an inspector to work at the fire department part-time?
Yeah, we're aiming part-time for right now because similar to the conversation about public over there at Public Works and the planning and zoning part, we are going full-time right now. We don't know how much demand we're actually going to have. We've been in a lot of flux, and so we wanted to start out part-time. We figured it was just responsible to do that, and then see what it looks like after 6 months. Maybe we need a full-time person. Maybe we can add other responsibilities to that role and keep it and fill the time, and it'll still be half-time. But we really want to get it in and kind of run with it, see what it looks like first before we commit it to a full-time. It might not be beneficial like we think it is, and then with a part-time person, we could just simply eliminate it by next budget year too if it wasn't as beneficial as we think it's going to be. So that's why we went part-time first, so we didn't have all the extra expenses regarding full-time and some of the challenges with that.
Well, Chief, the extra expenses, you're still paying for the retirement and the health insurance. Is that eligible for a part-time?
Anything over,
Over a certain hours it is.
how many
And
hours?
I don't know that this one would actually fall under PSPRS and fall under, because they don't necessarily have to be fire certified. It could fall under ASRS, just like our administrative assistant here. So it wouldn't necessarily be the same percentage of retirement as well. Or ARS, sorry.
Chief, is it 32 hours?
It was put in, I believe, at 28.
28.
Yeah, anything over 20.
20, yeah.
Yeah, if anything over 32 can be considered full-time.
And anything over 20, we pay the insurance on.
Well,
James, just a question. There's three individuals that the pension is blank. Is there a certain reason why?
They're in the drop, so they have to retire within the next, well, from when they put into the drop, they have to retire in a certain time. And during that time frame, the pension is not pulled out on them.
Okay.
Chief, I see that you're looking for a used tender for hydrant gaps and wildland urban interface.
Yes.
Is that a used vehicle that you're looking at, or?
Yes, actually, we have a couple different options we're looking at. We're in the process of trying to get a used one from another department right now that would be less expensive than that one, but we haven't finished that discussion, and then we would bring that forward to council. But so let's just put it this way. The brush fire the brush fire / almost house fires we had over by the old golf course, and then one up on Gold Hill required us to have a tender for those. We have to borrow it from Rio Rico every time, and with knock on some wood, the possible annexation into that area, I felt like I should put that in the budget and at least bring it to the attention of the council that we probably really could use one to help round out our complement of vehicles. The city does have one. We tried to borrow the water department one last summer when we were having a lot of brush fires. It's just not necessarily equipped. And a new tactical tender is about 320 grand. We feel like we can pick up a used one, either the process that we're in now or going out to the general market. And we've done some research, and that price is about where we can pick up one that we think will serve us for several, 5-6 years before we need something else.
it's a good idea, Chief.
Yeah.
Real quick, I did put on the tower thing. I know I talked about that last year. The reason why that's on there and the importance of it, fixing the training tower, is for ISO we have to do live burn trainings every year. We haven't really been doing them historically since the tower was damaged several years ago. For the academy class, we're renting out the tower at Northwest to the tune of almost $4 grand to get that done for the live burns for the academy. We would need to be doing that twice a year, so we're looking at about $8 grand a year in expense not having a fixed tower. So it seems like a pricey amount, but if we want to do our training for the ISO stuff and do the live burns like we're supposed to, it's 40 grand once to fix it, or about 8 grand a year to use somebody else's. So, and that doesn't include the payroll and overtime of driving all the way up to Tucson to use a tower. So sorry about that. I should have muted that. Like if we had it fixed, we would be able to do it on shift or internally, basically, instead of having to travel all the way up there.
Hey, Chief, did you get an estimate already on the tower?
Yes, we've had an estimate since last budget, and so we know that that's actually from the manufacturer. It may have gone up a little bit, but not too much.
That's what I was gonna tell you, because everything's going up right now. What kind of repairs do you need in it, Chief? Do you know?
What did you say?
What kind of repairs do you need in it?
It was overheated, and so, a lot of the tiles broke inside of it. And so that's, we could repair the current system in there, but it's almost expensive as replacing it. And so, that's why we went with a different system, which also has the ability to, basically outgas heat, so it doesn't get too hot and burning.
It's a good idea, Chief. That'll keep you training all the time, too.
Absolutely.
And I also see you need to lease 2 ambulances. Is that lease going to be something comparable to what the PD is doing?
No, so last year we had one lease in there which we didn't execute this year because between COVID and shortages and manufacturing stuff and Ford not having enough chassis and everything else we were dealing with the fire trucks, we just basically didn't pull the trigger on it. Plus we weren't running all the time the third ambulance because of the staff being increased while we had the academy going. So basically it's just a lease through a ambulance manufacturing company. Normally they would be purchased outright. Last year in the budget it was put in as a lease, and so we left it as a lease for this one. There is the possibility of buying them outright. There really is no cost savings per se between leasing and purchasing them outright. That's more of a policy decision. We just left it as is because that's where it was last year.
So in this lease, you can't buy it back for $1 per se?
You would basically at the end of the lease it's yours. It's not like they want it back. It's a lease purchase, for lack of a better term.
Okay. And you would be replacing or just an extra ambulance? Or would you
we would be decommissioning 2 of the much older ambulances, and so they would be replacements.
Okay.
So we would still stay at basically a net 5 ambulances.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Is there anything else? No, Chief?
No.
Yeah, Chief, on the bed replacement, is that on all fire stations, or is there a primary one? Or?
It is replacing both. It's replacing all the mattresses at Station 1 and Station 2. It's been several years since we've done it. It was prior to my arrival. They're getting kind of old. We got some quotes from some different vendors, and that's the price quote that we got.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a recess for lunch.
Oh,
Very necessary.
Very necessary.
It's recess.
Oh, God.
A que coman algo. A ver si te crece el pelo.
A ver si nos crece el pelo.
¿No?
Oh, dear.
Para que no te digan cuando digas.
Calladito te ves más bueno.
¿Qué onda?
Pues nadie contigo.
There's not much change.
On beginning this organic farm or not? Going ahead with it?
Well, it used to be a grant, remember? Many years ago. And so it's basically, it's in the budget now. So hopefully, hopefully it can be activated the way it was before COVID. And it was giving a good service to.
It was.
Yeah, so if we can continue with that, I'll see what else.
If you just put it, I'll collect them afterwards. Okay. Any other Nogales ride questions?
No.
All right.
Let's go to facilities.
Next is facilities. So they've requested some extra uniforms for this year. General supplies have gone up a little bit. Then he also has his capital in there. And his capital is what has brought up his budget quite a bit.
If we have a increase in health insurance, where the group insurance is low. What's the projected, requested budget?
It could be lots of factors that go into changing the projected health insurance premiums. Depends on if we, I'll give you an example. If we bring in an employee who has a family, it costs the city more. If we bring in an employee who's single, it costs the city less. So these numbers reflect what we have currently in payroll schedule, but during the year, people could change. People could leave the city and retire, and people that could have a family and such that could come back. There also could be salary savings. Well, no. Up to 58, there could be salary savings if within that department we had a vacancy for a while. They're just projections for
Medical expense.
$400 for medical laboratory? Jack, did you bring that up in the?
No, I'm Jean, but sure.
65, 65, 50. I didn't see any else. You got them right. You got 100 of them?
Okay, so it paid for 3 different people.
There he is.
Got 100, do you know the answer to that question with the facilities, with the medical laboratory?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
In the facilities budget, Alejandro, under 6550, line item 6550, he has $400 for medical and medical laboratory. Do you know how he anticipates spending that budget authority next year?
6550.
Gene, could you be looking it up too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's vaccinations.
Is that what it says?
It says vaccinations at the Mariposa Community Health Center
Thank you, Gene.
for all of them.
For vaccinations. They get like tetanus shots and stuff like that since they're working.
They're the only department that gets it?
No, I'm sure we'll see more in the public works, yeah. And
Because I hadn't seen it in the other ones, that's why I asked.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think you're gonna see it more in the public works ones. especially sewer and water,
You do, yes.
John, on the pest control too.
pest control. Yes, sir.
That pest control is for all the buildings of the city.
No, but look at the previous years. Is it same the same? Más o menos?
We're putting in for 5,400, Mr. Mayor. Last year to date is 3,595. That's year to date. Well, probably so. We're definitely spent more than the 2,000 allocated for last year.
All right.
How
You
about,
figure you add a little bit more?
Yeah, there's going to be more.
There's going to be more pests this
Pests,
time around?
yes,
Okay.
how about 6875, rental, lease equipment, previous years is nothing, and now it's 18,345.
Is that a vehicle?
That is the vehicle, the leasing of the vehicle.
That's a vehicle lease.
Oh, okay, it's a new vehicle?
Yeah, like the police had and everybody had that lease.
What vehicle is that?
Buy or rent or lease a vehicle.
What kind of car was it?
A pickup truck.
A pickup truck.
Okay.
Is that a lease or a purchase?
That's a lease for that.
But 18,000 for a year for a lease?
It's two vehicles.
It's two vehicles?
Yes.
Flip the page over.
It's a utility truck and a pickup truck.
65,000 worth of vehicle.
65.
Leases, right?
Utility truck for technician.
Did you see it, Councilman Diaz?
I see it, yeah.
I saw the electrician working, I saw the electrician. I saw him using a truck a couple of weeks ago, so it's very good.
I'm sorry, Mr. Maldonado, I didn't hear your question.
I saw an electrician working at the parks a couple of weeks ago, and he was driving a utility truck that looked very good, though. Maybe a 217, 218.
Alejandro, do you know where these two vehicles are going to be applied to?
Yeah, the vehicle and the electrician, I believe is a 1998 truck that we have been putting a lot of money to keep it running. Or maybe what he was driving was the supervisory truck that was the newest that we have in that facility department.
So the utility truck, the utility truck that you want to buy for the facilities is 35,000, and it's going to replace what, Alejandro?
I think in 1998.
The 1998 vehicle.
Yes.
That Dodge.
Alejandro, on the pickup truck, is that what you need, or do you need those pickup dump trucks?
Well, we need a pickup truck, a regular pickup truck, 150, that we can put our materials there, put a toolbox and things like that. When they go and clean or go and do repairs and things like that, we can carry the stuff there.
But don't you have one that you put all the trimmings that you cut from the trees also, and but yeah, facilities. I seen one park outside.
Yeah, that's one that we borrowed from the water department.
Oh, okay. But I mean, don't you need a truck like that too?
Well, we need a truck like that, but it's a lot more expensive, so I put the regular pickup truck that.
Yeah, because I've seen it outside parked on the parking lot, and it's completely to the top full of the tree trimmings and everything they cut from the front here, and it seems like, I don't know, it seems like the truck is not equipped for something like that. It's more like what you said, to carry tools and to go from job site to job site. But I don't know if you know this, Alejandro, but does the cemetery still have that short little dump truck?
Well, that was transferred to the recreation department, when they did the transfer of the positions that we have there.
See, that's the type of truck I was telling you about.
Yeah, that's the kind that we need, but that's a lot more expensive, because I have a tote there that, we can dump the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This way you could send one guy to pick up and then the truck can dump it off by itself without having to be, and that'd probably be more efficient.
We can analyze that, Mr. Mayor, and come back to you.
Yeah, can you do that, Alejandro? Analyze and see how much something like that costs? Thank you, Alejandro.
See what the difference of prices, Alejandro. See what the difference of price is for the, if you can do that, maybe hopefully today, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Alejandro.
Okay, are we okay with facilities?
Yes.
All right, let's jump to engineering.
Excuse me, sir. Did anybody ask on the window repairs, 80,000?
Oh, Alejandro, is he still there? John?
On the Primavera Museum?
Alejandro, the window repairs, can you talk to us about what building those are gonna go on?
Well, that's the Primavera.
Museum. That's on the second floor of the museum.
Of Old City Hall.
Yeah, Old City Hall, yes.
So the pigeons won't go in there.
They are falling apart. They are really, you try to open them, they're falling.
Alejandro, are you going with the same style to keep it as historic as possible?
Probably we would have to, I think we want to keep the building on the historical record. We would have to put something that goes with the building.
Yeah, because you don't want to modernize it because it's not going to be a historic building. It's not going to look the same anymore.
No, I think we would have to go with that.
And you think it's going to cost the same?
Well, the upgrades that we put there, what is that? $80,000. I think it's 4 windows. I think they are kind of in the ballpark that we need.
To keep it historic?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Alejandro.
You're welcome.
So we'll go to engineering. Jean?
Engineering's next. They really don't have any large differences. Little bits here or there, but nothing substantial.
And there's another frozen position there, vacant.
Yes, sir.
Technician. Senior engineer.
Yeah, that's one of the positions that we froze last year.
Yeah.
We haven't filled it.
Yeah. Well, let's keep it in mind so for tomorrow. Okay?
Good.
Cemetery.
On that one, of course, they want to move back 2 employees, so they have requested that. We were using an outside service that cost a lot more. So they're requesting the employees, new positions to be moved there.
So we're not using the
Mr. Mayor?
outside contract. Go ahead, John.
Mr. Mayor, this is Robert and I made a decision to place the cemetery budget in this year's budget so we could have a conversation about it.
Okay.
Last year's budget for the cemetery was, if you remember, we moved all of our cemetery employees out and we put them into the parks. Okay? And the idea behind that move was that the parks was going to take on activities in the county, and the county was going to pay for those activities, and it would be a budget wash. And at the time, Mayor and Council approved a budget for contractual services to deal with the cemetery. Okay? As we went through a learning experience on trying to contract somebody to do the cemetery, we found out that that wasn't feasible for the city to contract with a professional landscaping company to do that. So what we have been doing is bringing on temps. Temps are very difficult to manage, especially right now. Temps are very difficult to manage because of they don't want to keep working. They just want a quick job and then they're off, or they're got their stimulus check or their unemployment check. So it's very hard to keep these entry-level temps on board. We're struggling. With conversations that I've had with Robert on this, we want to bring this forward to contemplate repopulating our cemetery with the two employees that we moved over to parks. In other words, bring them back with their trucks, bring them back with their equipment, and reorganizing the cemetery. If that's something that Mayor and Council.
So basically, you're not getting two new people.
Well, the request was for two new people, but we think that it would be more feasible to put it back the way it was, because we're not doing the county's parks, right? And we're not having the Chea Park ready to go next year, right? It's in development. So we can use those resources that we moved out of the cemetery to parks and bring them back to take care of the cemetery. That's why we put this in here, so we could have that discussion, and that's why this request is on here. Now, if, and I've heard from most of you that we would like to pay more, put more efforts or resources towards the cemetery. And I think that's a common theme that I've heard from all the council. I've never heard a councilman ever say we're putting too much resources into the cemetery. So that's one of the plans that we would like to.
Are we still working with the Santa Cruz Training Center?
No.
At all?
No. As it relates to the cemetery, I don't think we're using. Alejandro, are we using the Santa Cruz Training Center for the cemetery, or we're just getting temps?
No, we are not only using temps.
Right.
And we are using Santa Cruz County worker, the training center for cleaning up the well sites and the pumping places and things like that, but not for the cemetery.
And I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, Alejandro, they couldn't accommodate us when we asked them, right? They couldn't devote to that? They didn't have enough or something like that?
Yeah, they couldn't dedicate the number of people that we need to have there, because the employees that they have, they are not really, they cannot work more than a number of hours, and they cannot be.
So, Mr. Mayor, it didn't work out well for using them there, so we brought on temps, but we're struggling with the temps. So in order to potentially meet Mayor and Council's expectation there, that's what we're thinking that would be our goal.
So you're telling me that we're going to go back to what we had?
I'm telling you, I'm asking you if that's where council direction would like to go.
That's the part that worries me.
Okay. So I don't know.
On the contractual services, was that included in all?
Those were the temps.
Temps?
The temps.
It's not Santa Cruz.
No, the temps.
And we.
When the budget was put together, Hector, we were going to go out and get a professional, that was the idea, right? A professional landscaping crew to do the cemetery. As we went to quote that, it was ridiculous, the price. I mean, it wasn't feasible. So the discussion we'd like to have is, would you like us to continue with doing the temps, right, that we're struggling with, or would you like to repopulate the budget here with FTEs, vehicles, gasoline, and all the things that go along with a department?
So it's more cost effective than we hire employees, if we get 2 employees.
Well, one of the questions that we can ask ourselves is, we already have 2 employees, correct? They used to be working at the cemetery. These 2 employees went to go work at parks. The reason when they went to go work at parks was because the thought process is they were going to take care of, there were going to be added resources to take care of the parks that we were going to take over with Santa Cruz County. Were you here when all that happened?
Yeah.
Okay. And then as we brought the Santa Cruz County IGA forward, right, Mayor and Council decided they didn't want to do that. So now we're back to the original.
So you actually moved them over there before we voted to see if we're gonna do that?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
I have a question. Are they doing okay, or what are they doing now?
Who?
The 2 persons that you moved there?
I'm assuming they're doing parks activities.
Oh,
I mean,
you're
I'd have, well, Mr. Lopez, I mean, you're putting me on the spot. I would like to ask Marcel if you want to know exactly what
Yeah,
they do every
Marcel.
day. I'm not there.
Oh, is Marcel there? I don't think so.
Yes, Marcel's here.
Marcel, these 2 persons in particular, that they were at the cemetery, what are they doing now?
So we've just divided the parks that we used to do with 10 parks employees into doing that same work with 12 employees now. So they do the daily maintenance, weed control, trash pickup, public restroom cleaning. We keep them busy.
So Marcel, are you gonna be okay if we take them back to cemetery? Would you have to replace those 2 employees there, parks?
I think he can hear you.
I'm sorry, Marcel. Did you hear me?
I did.
Oh. I get that.
So there, and I'm going to maybe get a little bit ahead of the curve here, but based on some conversations I've had with Robert regarding potential agreements with the county into the future as it relates to maybe taking ownership of a park or parks or parcels and property there in the Monte Carlo area. If I lose these 2 employees and the city does decide to move forward and entertain some discussions with the county regarding a couple of properties there in Monte Carlo, then I would need an additional employee. And that's why in my budget, there is a request for a 1 FTE. But if this move does not happen, then I do not need that FTE. Don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
We could make a decision that we want to put
2 new ones.
resources into
2
this.
new ones.
Yeah, we could do that too, and that's what the budget request is,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying.
Or we can move, that's why I said, but
Because if we do-
that's why I said, let's have the discussion.
Yeah, because,
Because you wouldn't want us just to do it without the discussion, right? Because that's what the mayor was talking to us about, that it happened without a discussion.
Yes.
Question to council. Would you guys ever be interested in entertaining again the county deal?
A county deal? No.
At all?
Even though they pay for their part?
It's gonna take too much of the, well, That's what I'll say. I'll tell you right now, no, because it'll take too much of our time, too much responsibility, and it's on the county. I mean, it really doesn't, I don't want to leave what we have in the city not being completed because we're out in the county trying to do something for them. You know, if they have parks over there, they should hire people and have them do it themselves. But I mean, I know that Councilman Bonilla has been in communication with the county for those two sections in Monte Carlo. And that's one of the reasons why I was, concerned about that, because I know Marcel would need one or two people just to help out with that, especially if they improve the one on Trinidad. If it's improved to a certain point.
The county's willing to improve to do the improvements that are needed.
But once it becomes city, then you can improve it and develop it to whatever you think could be best, for rest area with benches and stuff like that, instead of a recreational type of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's a small little wedge there. But it will still need maintenance. It will still need water, it will still need a grass, because there's only dirt there. It wouldn't be a parking lot anymore. So I think we need to contemplate that in case we go in that direction.
Marcel, what was it? I wasn't here when you guys are asking about the county deal. What was that?
We're talking about the maintenance of two baseball fields and what do you want to call it, a baseball softball field, the Ron Morris Park and then the Robert Damon Parks, that we would be fully responsible for the for the maintenance of those three facilities.
Oh, okay.
One of them is in Tubac.
Yeah.
The other ones are in Rio Rico.
Correct.
And then we just we just already worked on giving them some land for future baseball and soccer field and type of complex on the east side of where the park is at, Calabasas Park, just east of there. So, if we were to do that, eventually they could develop that, and then there we have another bunch of people working on that park.
Marcel, how far would they cover the expenditures?
As far as, according to the agreement that was discussed at the time, they were going to provide all the materials and supplies plus the equipment and the cost for the employees.
So if we would get 3 or 5 employees to cover everything, they would cover the cost.
At the time, it was 2. So basically, they were they were needing the expertise and the knowledge that our park staff would offer.
Mm-hmm.
So just because the 2 employees from the cemetery transferred over, it wasn't going to be a direct transfer of those 2 employees to work on those fields. It was going to be some of our other groundskeepers that would work those fields, and the 2 cemetery employees would backfill those slots.
More experienced personnel you would need out there.
Marcel, does the county have other parks besides the ones in Rio Rico? Like, do they have anything in Tubac or Patagonia?
I don't work for them, Councilman.
I mean, if we...
I'm just kidding you. The only one I know of is the Ron Morris one. Obviously, they got Calabasas Park. They've got La Cancha off of Trinidad. Don't know real sure what's going on in Patagonia or who maintains that stretch of green belt along the highway. But that's all, and then the Bob Damon fields. But I'm not really sure about any other parks that they maintain.
Yeah, and the reason I ask you, because if we did go into a contract with the county, then later on they say, okay, can you include these other parks in the contract? And that's the liability about it. So that was the reason for my question.
Okay, no,
Just to clarify,
Yes.
these new cemetery groundkeepers, they're new. What are you requesting?
There was a request made
For new.
to fund new
Perfect.
people, and there was a discussion about moving people out of parks back. Okay, so we're just,
But either way, we're gonna end up needing 2 new people anyways. So
if that's what the goal of mayor and council is to staff that, and I think it is, I'm not hearing nobody saying we don't want to do that, then we would have to staff, 2 people to go over there and work. We can do it by adding to our FTEs or moving people over.
Actually, Marcel said that he had requested 1 FTE on
Yeah, so we'd actually be adding,
one.
Because you requested one already.
because he's requesting one, so because you got one requested, right, Marcel? An FTE requested?
that's correct.
But that's in anticipation of losing 2.
That's correct.
So Marcel's saying,
2 for
if
1.
they pick up Monte Carlo, if I speak wrong, let me know, Marcel. If they pick up the 2 extra parks in Monte Carlo, of the 2 cemetery people out over there, he's gonna need 1.
Okay.
Which frees up 1 that we're gonna apply to the cemetery, so we would only need 1 new one. Did I say that right, Marcel?
That's what you said, one.
That is correct.
That's one.
Yeah, but then, let's look a little forward.
Uh-huh.
Techea Park is finished.
Absolutely.
He's gonna need 2 or 3 more. So might as well leave those 2 over there and get 2 new ones here. Because Techea Park, we're gonna be voting on that money too.
Uh-huh.
Once we vote on that money, we're gonna make a decision.
Absolutely.
And the decision should be the yes on that, because we've already talked about it for too many years already.
Mr. Mayor, I think.
We even bought land for that.
Mr. Mayor, I know that you could probably agree with me, that if I were to put 3 FTEs at the cemetery,
Yeah,
we could keep them busy, right?
yes, I know that for a fact.
Trimming trees and removing.
Oh, yeah, there's so much work at the cemetery, it's unbelievable.
We're gonna hear him call to the public soon.
Huh?
Yeah, working people.
Yeah,
It'd be him.
and the cemetery people, what department would they be under?
Under facilities, Mr. Mayor.
Alejandro, right?
Oh, my God. Okay. All right, then,
But the fire chief says you wanted to take them. Just saying.
If I may clarify that is, the facility department has been helping me in the coordination of the cemetery, even though the cemetery has their own budget.
yeah. And you know what, Mr. Barcenas, that was one of the reasons I also was mentioning about that small dump truck,
Yeah,
because I think it's could be used at the cemetery too.
They're asking for 1.
Yeah,
yeah, and
no, they're asking for a
Pickup
for
truck.
a pickup truck. I'm talking the dump truck, something that's a utility vehicle, something that's gonna work. A pickup truck doesn't work. Doesn't work. It'd be good to ride around town in it, but not to go to a cemetery and pick up the trash. Let's get serious, and I'm serious, okay? Use that, because that one, you only would need 1 person to go dump at the landfill. The driver, because the truck would dump by itself. You wouldn't need to have 2 or 3 people climbing into a pickup truck to do it. Let's be more efficient here.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just check really quick on the cost of the truck that you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
$50,000.
I don't see any problem with that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So we're, just to clarify here, where you're asking 30,000, it'll be 50,000. On these,
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you would add 20 to it.
So it's 50,000. Okay.
Thank you, Alejandro.
Oh, you're welcome.
Merry Christmas.
Well, let's keep in mind these two positions for when we decide on the employees things tomorrow, okay?
I have one more question with the cemetery. Could we add an allocation to trim and remove some of the old trees? I know that one's gonna look over here. To remove and trim some of the trees at the cemetery that are, I think, a safety issue. Some people think the same way I do. And that don't belong to the people respectively. They belong to the city or
All the ones that are marked in red.
all the ones that are marked in red, and they've been marked for a while.
Alejandro or Marcel, do either one of you have a cost estimate on the tree removal for the cemetery so we can put in an allocation in the next year's budget and get that taken care of?
I included that in the cemetery and the contractual services.
You did.
Did a little inventory of the worst trees. And it costs between $1,000 and $2,000 for the big trees. So depends on the size of the tree and the location, and there's access or not. So we have been having that work done little by little, but it's expensive.
So Alejandro, that would be, just so I can be very clear here, that would be the $68.99 to $37,000 to remove trees?
That's correct.
Okay, so that 37 is not for your temps.
Oh, no, the temps are on the
payroll.
Yeah.
They're on the
Because
payroll.
we're quite in the two positions.
Okay, so talk to me about where they were last year.
On the temps,
Yes, sir?
on the $33,000, they're there. That we spent this year.
It's 37.
Okay, got it.
37,920.
Yeah, we spent 33.
Okay, so we're zeroing that out and pulling that money down to cut trees,
Yes.
basically. Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Barcenas, so the 37,000 allocation is to remove and trim those huge trees that you mentioned a while ago that cost a lot of money.
Yes.
Okay, that's the allocation there. Okay, thank you.
John,
No.
Sir.
who trimmed the eucalyptus in front here?
Facilities, I think. No,
Okay.
wait.
Yes, that's facilities.
Let me back up.
I saw them cutting them myself.
But didn't I see a contract out there too?
No. You saw a contractor when there was an accident in front of the PD several years back. But all the eucalyptus that were trimmed here that are blooming and everything were cut by city employees.
Okay.
Facilities. They could do the same work over there and not spend $37,000 at the cemetery.
Okay.
But they need that truck. You know why? Because they told me, you give us the truck and we'll take care of the cemetery.
With the
dump truck. The dump truck.
The dump truck.
The $50,000 one.
Okay.
This way you don't spend $37,000 on hiring a company to do that.
Okay.
Okay? They did a great job out here. All of them.
I thought it was a contract.
Oh, no, I could tell you who it was, and I saw him from my office cutting them.
Hey, that's cool.
All three employees were cutting them. They got on a ladder, they cut them, they trimmed them, and I was surprised to see him. Ramiro was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Are they using the bucket truck with the?
They used a bucket
From
and they used a
utilities?
ladder, the city.
Yeah.
And they trimmed them up and they took everything. They took every branch. They cut all the ones behind the bank too, behind the Chase Bank. They cut all the Nogales and all the Alamos and they were there too. There was city employees. We don't need to spend money on something like that.
Yeah, we need to use our own in.
Keep that in mind, Alejandro.
Where's that?
We can move that 33 back into the employee.
Yes, we can do
I
something.
will keep that in mind, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alejandro. Okay, let's move to, what is it now?
Animal control is next.
Animal control, that's an easy one.
That's a wash.
That's a wash, como dijo John.
You don't want to go over that one, Mayor?
It's the same thing every year.
You see the line?
Yes, no cambia.
On to recreation.
Recreation.
Their budget hardly changed much at all.
Okay, let's go to parks.
Parks is about the same. There wasn't a whole lot of difference.
That's where Marcel is requesting an FTE, right?
Right. He is requesting one.
With an anticipation that we're pulling two out. So if we only pull one out.
Right.
But if we are not, then the
Well,
request.
I don't know, we have discussions about leaving in there because of the chair.
Oh, okay.
We'll figure it out and come back in the recommendation. I think we're better off this evening.
John, Marcel still around?
Yeah.
Marcel?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Marcel on parks. For Techea Park is 550,000.
Yes, sir.
Where's that gonna take us to?
That will, okay, so we've already spent $250,000 just in design work, or will be by the end of this fiscal year.
Yes.
The 550,000 added to that puts us at 800,000, which makes us responsible for our match for the total cost of the phase one of the Jeff Park. So we'll finish everything in phase one if that money is allocated for that park. Obviously, we still gotta wait and keep our fingers crossed that we are granted the other half. But given the feel that we get from the gentleman that came down and did the site visit before we submitted a pre-application, they're kind of waiting for us to just move on this and get the grant in before them so that they can fund the project.
And how does that look promising?
The
grant itself, the whole, yeah. And if it was to happen, Marcel, and everything goes, smooth as we anticipate, you think we can see some type of groundbreaking next year sometime?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, I'm thinking we can hopefully, if we don't get notice of award by September, it'll be closer towards the end of the year. And then just however long it takes us to go through the bidding process, which we're figuring about 2 months. And then finally accepting a bid and giving notice to proceed. Talking to the contractors, they think the whole phase one can be completed in actually 6 to 8 months.
Good.
So I'm thinking that the second half of next year you'd see some dirt being turned.
Good. Well, I just want to say, Marcel, on your Parks and Recreation wish list from 1 through 8, to me, all of them should be accepted and passed by the council. I'll tell you that right now. Thank you very much, Marcel.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Marcel,
Yes?
I know this is your last budget meeting. And, I just want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you. And thank you for your dedication and loyalty to the city again. Good luck, and I hope you go and enjoy your next journey in your life.
That's the plan. Thank you very much.
You'll enjoy being retired. Bye-bye. Thank you, Marcel.
Hey, Marcelo, I guess they didn't get the memo that you took
Rescind-
back
Yeah. We didn't accept it.
we didn't accept your,
Resignation.
resignation.
There was a typo, so I put it in.
You gotta stay another year until the jail part is done,
We'll see you
Marcelo.
Thursday, Marcel.
You gotta get the jail part done. And then George wants those bleachers, okay?
Is everybody clear what phase one, the footprint of phase one is? Or you guys
Yeah.
agree with that?
Well, I don't know. Do you know phase one of the jail park?
The footprint of it, where it's covering? Marcel, could you quickly describe the footprint of phase one? Do you know what I mean by footprint, Marcel?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it includes everything as far west, so starting from the parking lot east of City Hall, goes all the way beyond the basketball court and ends there. So obviously, there's a lot of specific work that's going to be done between that span. They'll resurface the basketball courts. They're going to redo the whole picnic area with Ramadas back there. They're going to regrade and reconfigure the whole turf area right now. That backstop is coming out. There'll be a walk around track around that entire area. It'll all be concrete. There'll be a turf area that's within that walking area. It'll be kind of circular. There'll be a huge play structure. It's inclusive to encourage ADA access and participation. Additional ramadas as well. But that's pretty much where it ends. I think there'll be some decorative fencing up front, and we'll get rid of that chain link. That will have electrical boxes as well for smaller types of events. New lighting and landscaping.
Good chunk of work.
Well, we got all that. I can get them to you, Councilman. The conceptual, they're pretty cool. So we'll make sure we get you a copy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, John.
Welcome.
Okay, what do we have next?
The golf course,
So, Mr. Mayor, the
What
golf
course?
the Palo Duro building.
Mr. Mayor,
Palo Duro building.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Mayor,
Just joking.
we renamed this budget because it's always been budgeted as golf course.
Yes.
And I think we messaged the wrong, we're messaging wrong to the public when we say golf course, because we all know we're not maintaining or operating a golf course out in Meadow Hills. But we do have some buildings that we have out in Meadow Hills that we do have some expenditures for, and that's what this budget is. And I think it's all utilities, to be honest.
Yes.
Yes, sir, it's all utilities, and, yeah, exactly what it is.
That's it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and so that's it for all of the general funds.
John, just
Mr. Mayor,
one question before you go on Honolulu. On the dog park, that was last year's budget, or are we going?
dog park? Is it dog park?
Yeah.
Oh. Marcel, is the dog park contemplated in your next year's budget?
Yeah, we put it under contractual services on the park side. So it's included in there. We earmarked 15,000 for that. To at least kind of carry that over.
Yeah, that's right here.
So to answer your question, yes.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you.
And then, Mr. Mayor, when we end today's meeting, could you please end by recessing,
Yes.
not adjourning?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I just want to say
Thank you.
something. I recommend you study the vacant positions, study the wish list, the vehicles, the new positions, all of that. Study it tonight, because tomorrow, if we can, I hope to finish the whole thing tomorrow and not have to come in on Thursday. Okay? And I think we can do it. Look how early we finished today. I can even eat a little sandwich right now. It's almost lunchtime. Saulo, te invito a un sandwich, Saulo. But But let's do that, and it'll be a lot easier for us for tomorrow. If you come in and say, you know what, I approve the list, or this, yes, no, yes, so we can start voting tomorrow. And like I said, I need for all of you to be here for voting. I don't want somebody not be here. Just because we have quorum, I don't want to vote just because we have quorum. I want all of us to be part of this budget. So, that's all I have to say, and let's recess this meeting till tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, same time,
Perfect.
okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, directors. Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
Gene, thank you very much.
Thank you.